Hey everybody, we are teaching Tilt Brush, and this time we're actually going to focus on a new feature of Open Brush rather than the general Tilt Brush. Open Brush has added this cool new feature called Color Jitter to your palette. What the heck is Color Jitter? Well, jitter means jump around, like jitterbug, like dancing. So color jitter will do that with your colors. Why the heck would you want that? Well, let's do an example first, and then we'll go into the details of how it works. So color jitter. I'm going to pretend that I'm painting a natural scene, either a grassy field or maybe trees and bushes, and I've got my color picker to green, and I've got my brushes to the coarse bristle. And if I start painting right now, you can see how I've got all of these lines showing up in green, the same shade of green. If I want to do shadow, highlight, that type of thing, I'll actually need to change the color. The only variation is due to light and shadow, but all of the brush strokes are the same shade. Color jitter, the die here, has a bunch of settings. I'm just going to activate the settings in a very basic way. So you can see, same color, same brush. But now when I paint it, you can see how the different brush strokes are slightly different colors of green. So there's more variation, all based on the same original shade. So rather than manually changing colors, it happens as I paint. The colors jitter around my original green. This can feel more natural as opposed to all flat colors. I could now go in and paint highlight and shadows, but you can see how there's a lot of that naturally occurring just as I'm painting. So this is an example of color jitter, making the colors change a little bit while you paint them. So now we'll take a little closer look at how this works. So I'm going to keep my nice bright green here, and with 0 jitter, all settings to 0, I'm going to get the same color each time I paint. Now, there are 3 parts to jitter: hue, saturation, and brightness. If you've worked with any computer art program, these terms might be familiar. They are going to use just the way they're saying used in other programs. If you've never seen them before, here's what they do. Hue jitter. Right now, I'm using this shade of green. Up here in my circle, this is where I've got the main marker. The colors themselves are the hue. So a jitter means how many different shades of different colors will you allow. So a very low level of jitter means the hues are all going to be variations of bright green. Some a little lighter, some a little darker, some a little more yellow, some a little more blue, but they're all variations left and right around that green color. If I crank up that hue jitter, now it's actually going to bleed into yellows and oranges. It might bleed into purples and cyans. So as I paint, I'm getting purple and blue and yellow, many different hues, many different colors. Hue jitter. So for the leaves, I kept the hue very small, so it's staying more or less the same green. But if you really want to go crazy, they're still using that shade of green as the center point and varying to either side of it. Hue changes the color. The second item here is called saturation. Saturation is how intense is the color. Do you want vibrant green, or do you want sort of a pastel green, or do you want almost gray, slate green? How vibrant is the color? So this vibrancy would be moving in and out. You know, in the center of my wheel, it's a very gray green. Towards the edge of the wheel, it's a vibrant green. I'm going to keep my my saturation in the center. So in this medium level green, no saturation, they're all the same vibrancy. Whereas if I give myself a lot of saturation, variation. Now, not only are they bright green, but we get the faded greens as well. So some of these are vibrant, some of them are almost gray. So how intense is the color? How vibrant is the color? How saturated is the color? Hue for color, saturation for vibrancy. The third level is brightness. Brightness. That's quite simply how pale or dark is that shade of green. So it won't change the tint. It's just going to change the paleness factor. So again, at zero brightness change, they're all still looking the same. But if I do a very strong, brightness, come back here, brightness change, now not only do I get the pale greens, but I also get very dark greens. It's still the same tone, still the same hue, still the same saturation, but now we're ranging from darker to lighter in our jitter. So we've got these three things. If you want them to be very similar, then I'm just going to keep all three of them at a fairly low level. And now I get a good variation, but it still feels like it's still green. Well, maybe a little too much on this time because some of them look a little blue. But now it's all close together. I'm going to leave that one up here. Now I'm going to do another set where they're all crank high. Lots of jitter, so there's a lot more variation in color and brightness and saturation. So these are the effects of color jitter. On our new open brush by Icosa, it's that die, 6-sided die at the bottom of your color picker. Hue, saturation, and brightness. Color jitter for easy variation. I hope this is helpful. I hope this explains how it can be used and gives you some cool ideas on how to try to use them to yourself. Let me know if you have questions in the comments below. Let me know if you have other ideas or requests for lessons. We try to make these things as helpful and interesting as possible, so I'm going to keep my jitter up. I'm going to switch to a nice bright little wire here, so when I give my message, let's see what the jitter does. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot of fun doing these things. We are archived at youtube.com/shamelessmayhem. Thanks for joining. Have fun in your tilt brush and open brush.